So guys, we are of course going to be talking about F1 pit stops in today's video. There's a lot of ground to cover with pit stops, but this is your more basic version of pit stop knowledge. So first of all, we will start off with some of the strategies that you will see throughout a race, which are all done in the pit lane. So first of all is the undercut. Now, the undercut is when, so the cars are racing, then say you are Charles Leclerc in a Ferrari. You come into the pit lane before the other drivers come in. So you come in a little bit earlier. Maybe instead of putting on mediums, you put on hard tires so you can go for a bit longer. But then that means that when everyone else is coming into the pits, you won't have to go and stop again, and then you can go past all of those people. Now, I have proven to myself that this does really work because on my computer I have the F1 22 video game, the official one, and I love to undercut. It really helps. So that is when undercutting is really good. Now, another strategy is double stacking. So how this works is that, and there were quite a few examples at the 2022 Monaco Grand Prix, but how double stacking works is that, let's take Red Bull for example. They did this at the 2022 Monaco Grand Prix. What you do when you double stack is you get one car to come into the pit lane, and then, so let's say Max was in first position at the Monaco Grand Prix, then he was told to box, so he came in, and let's say Checo was back in fifth. So Verstappen comes in, he drives down the pit lane, Checo comes around to the pit entry, he comes in. So Verstappen will come into the pit box and will have his tyres changed whilst Checo's coming down the pit lane, and then Checo will come in and get new tyres on the same lap. So that is what double stacking is, when one team brings both of their cars in on the same lap to have new tyres, which ultimately can be really good, except for this one time in Monaco, and that has given Ferrari a very bad pit stop reputation. Here's a video.
Box now, box now, box for hard. Stay out, stay out, stay out.
What
Tyre, position 5.
Leclerc is not happy about that pit stop.
Yeah, Sainz is ahead of him. Sainz is ahead of him. They were telling him to stay out, but it obviously was all...
Some very bad strategy from Ferrari, obviously, there in Monaco. Very unfortunate as well for Leclerc, because Monaco is, of course, his home race. And nowadays, just from that one pit stop mistake, you will hear it referred to as the Ferrari strategy, which is kind of unfair, but no, they've got themselves a name for it now. So once you've done undercuts and double stacking, there is another strategy that you can do, and it is called overcutting. So overcutting is when you have, say you have more rubber on your tyres than you expected, so you can keep on going for longer. That means you can stay out and get in front of your opponents. So when their pit window opens, which is when they're coming into the pits, when they come into the pits, you and probably everyone else, you're staying out and doing an overcut, which means you're staying out of the pits, driving for a few more laps and getting in front of them, and then coming in to get new rubber. And then the idea is that when you have the new tyres, you will be faster than your opponents who will have older tyres by that time. So that is your overcut. The overcut, in my opinion, I haven't tried it in the F1 22 video game, but obviously it works because they've done it many times. One famous example of using undercutting and overcutting in the one Grand Prix was at the 2019 Singapore Grand Prix. So it was Sebastian Vettel versus Lewis Hamilton for first place. And what Vettel did was he came in for an undercut on Hamilton because he had a faster car. But if you have ever seen an onboard lap of the Marina Bay Street circuit, it is very narrow and hard to pass. So he came in to undercut Hamilton. Then he went out and Hamilton consequently tried to overcut. So Hamilton stayed out, and that was probably a really bad decision to tell Hamilton to stay out, because that meant that he ended up getting third, and Leclerc also, who was at the time Vettel's teammate, managed to get second. So Hamilton lost a few places, and that is how much strategy can impact whether you get the 25 points for the race win, whether you get 18 or a smaller number of points. So it is very essential that you get your strategy right.
The safety car can be a strategy, advantage and disadvantage. So when it could be an advantage is when, let's say, you were going to pit in 3 laps time and then the safety car was deployed 3 laps before you wanted to come in and pit for, say, softs. Then that means that you can come into the pits and not lose as many positions, and you can catch up to the rest of the field much easier. But when it could be a strategy disadvantage is when, let's say, you came and pit 3 laps for hards and you're going to finish the race on that compound 3 laps before the safety car is deployed. Then in 3 laps time the safety car is out. You don't want to pit again for new tyres because you'll lose positions, but you also don't want to just stay behind the safety car because then you're just losing rubber off your tyres when you're not going at full racing speed. Rain can be a major disadvantage when you were racing. So let's say that 5 laps ago you came and wanted to finish your race on the medium tyre. So you're on the medium tyre and you were planning to finish it on that compound. Then the track is declared wet, which is when these lights of the raindrops come on to these screens around the track. Then you have to pit for either the Pirelli Cinturato Inter tyre or the full wet weathers. That means that you're losing time coming into the pits again to pit for wet weather tyres, which of course is really inconvenient. You can lose positions. So it all depends on your weather forecasts that your team is using and your overall strategy, because maybe it could be less of a disadvantage for you. Maybe you were coming in and you were going to pit for another dry tyre to finish your race, but then you actually saw that the track was now declared wet. There was rain, there was water on the track. So then instead of coming in and having to do more like another extra stop, which I explained just before, you can cut out a whole extra stop by then pitting for a wet weather tyre, by staying out a bit longer possibly. So rain is a really interesting thing. I would definitely recommend watching lots of wet Grand Prix because you will see lots of interesting rain strategy and plenty of chaos. This is an F1 fuel tank, but did you know that refueling was removed in the 2010 F1 season? Now the reason it was removed, there were multiple reasons, but the main one being safety. So as you can see in the video that is about to come up,
oh, and fuel, that's the first time we've had a fuel splash. Oh my goodness me.
Very dangerous. So
well,
nowadays,
just let's keep
F1
calm.
teams
There
have
are
to
a lot of
ration
fire
their fuel
officials
out,
down
and they
there.
have larger
And the
fuel
fire
tanks.
is already out. Right, there was the replay there. Now, when the nozzle came out of that, that was supposed to seal it. The fuel splashed, and see how 3 seconds later, that tremendous inferno there.
That's it, guys. I hope you found this video very interesting and enjoyable. Please give us a like and subscribe. It helps us out so much. See you on the next video.